Well, hello and welcome to our program today. It's so good to have you with us. Today we're going to talk about something that a lot of us get into before we realize what happens, and then we're in over our head, and it's called debt. The Bible does not say that debt is a sin, but as I've said before, there's sin is really anything that will make us unhappy in the end. Yes, there are some sins that are much more grave than others. I wouldn't advise anybody to go kill somebody or rob a bank or that sort of stuff. You're gonna have some answering to do for all of that stuff. But largely, and one great thing about what Jesus did, he taught us a way to live so that we can be happy if we live that way. A lot of it's just common sense. But anyway, debt is one of those things that you're not going to go to hell, but you might live in hell while you're trying to pay off your debts and everything. But let's start with a song. And when you get in debt, you might have to take it just one day at a time to get out.
I'm only human, I'm just a man. Help me believe in what I could be and all that I am. Show me the stairway I have to climb. Lord, for my sake, teach me to take one day at a time. One day at a time, sweet Jesus, that's all I'm asking from you. Just give me the strength to do every day what I have to do. Yesterday's gone, sweet Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. Lord, help me today, show me the way, one day at a time. Do you remember when you walked among men? Well, Jesus, if you're looking below, it's worse now than then. Pushing and shoving, crowding my mind. So for my sake, Lord, teach me to take one day at a time. One day at a time, sweet Jesus, that's all I'm asking from you. Just give me the strength to do every day what I have to do. Yesterday's gone, sweet Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. Lord, help me today, show me the way, one day at a time. One day at a time, sweet Jesus, that's all I'm asking from you. Just give me the strength to do every day what I have to do. Yesterday's gone, sweet Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. Lord, help me today, show me the way, one day at a time. Lord, help me today, show me the way, one day at a time.
Okay, now this can be a deep subject. And if I can talk to you young people, of course, us older folks sometimes we have to straighten some things out too, but be very careful about debt. You know, as soon as you can, you probably want to buy a house because that's a decent investment, and you will, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you're probably going to have to take out a loan to get a house, you know. That's one of the few things I would say go in debt for. Never go in debt. The worst thing you can do is get a credit card. Do not get a credit card. You go, oh, but I need it for emergency. No, what you need to do is don't get in those emergencies, you know, because you will start playing games with yourself, and the next thing you know, they'll give you a little one to start off with. Well, next thing you know, you're going to have that one full, but now you got good credit because as long as you've been making those payments that are kind of easy to make so far, because you probably don't have if you're young, they probably won't give you a card you can put $10,000 on. You know, it'll be a few hundred. Okay, you keep that one up. Now they want to give you a bigger one. So what happens is you start to get deeper and deeper with these people, and all of a sudden it gets harder and harder to make those payments. And then some of you are going to want to go to college, and oh, it's so easy to take those student loans. Oh man, they just, you know, and school's gotten so expensive because of student loans. The minute they found out there was some easy money coming in, the price went up. When I went to college back in, I went one time in the 60s, and I went one time in the 80s, and still in the 80s, it was only about $200 a quarter, you know, and I was working on the weekends, playing. In fact, that was why I went back to school. It was one of those rare times when I had a band. We were playing one-nighters on the weekend, so it left me the week to do whatever I wanted to do. And I felt like I wanted to learn more about, as you get older, you're going to find out you want to know more about what you do. You know, you start to see the wisdom in being better at what you do. And in fact, in another program, I explained to you, really what you ought to do is find something you love to do and get good at it, get educated at it, whether you have to go to college or trade school or a lot of stuff you can learn on YouTube. It's amazing what you can learn on Google and YouTube these days. But be careful about, you know, try to pay your college as you go. It's so easy to take these student loans and get way more than what it really costs you to go to school, because you know, you want to live kind of easy, and you're eating good, and you're buying that gas for your car and all this kind of stuff, and you're not paying attention to what you're doing, and you're starting to build a debt. Some people come out of school owing $80,000, $100,000. I mean, we're talking about price of it'd be a small house these days, but used to for $100,000 you could buy a mansion. You know, now that's changed too. But and a lot of this is because of debt. Debt has gotten easier and easier to get into and harder to get out of. I can't even imagine having a house payment, a student loan payment, and a car payment, just those three things, and we haven't gotten to food yet. You know, get you a debit card if you want to flash cards around, because what a debit card does is if you don't have it in the bank, you can't buy it. You have to have the money in the bank for a debit card to work. You know, I know this is easy for me to tell you, but I'm just telling you from experience. Fortunately, I had a sixth sense of this, and I did one of my studios when I put the building up. All of a sudden, that beautiful building was there, and I had fair equipment, but I was starting to make pretty good money going out and playing. We got in the late 90s. Walmart, Linda was always real good at booking me during those days. And she got us in with Walmart, and they started having us for grand openings. And we were selling a lot of CDs. So I had the money, but there was 2 or 3 items that we needed. We needed a board and those things. That's a small car, you know. But anyway, there was a few things. So I filled up 2 cards finishing out my studio because I just knew I could pay it off in a short period of time. Except for one thing. I was on the road and I wasn't paying attention. And 2 months in a row, I wasn't late by a month. I was only late by 2 or 3 days. But one of their rules was, You know that card that's 10% in your pocket? What card are you carrying in your pocket? I had one of those cards, 10% interest, you know. Okay. I looked down and all of a sudden my interest was more than I had been paying for the monthly payment. And I'm going, what is going on here? And I looked, all of a sudden my interest rate was 33%. And I called them, they said, well, you were late on your last two payments. I'm going, what? I've been with you guys 20 years, and all of a sudden we go from 10. Well, I was fortunate enough that I had my house for about 5 or 6 years, so I had some equity in the house, and I went back, I finished up, I took a loan out on my house. I paid those cards off, and I got a debit card. I use PayPal for my online stuff, and they have a debit card. Since that time, I have always used a debit card and never had another credit card. That was the best move I ever made. But not everybody's fortunate enough to have a house to have equity in, you know. Well, and even that, it didn't up my payment wasn't a whole lot more, but my years, it took me longer to pay it off. But anyway, my point is this: never go on vacation on a credit card. If you've got to have a credit card to go on vacation, you can't afford to go on vacation. Well, you can if you want to be indebted to the man for the rest of your life, so to speak, you know. Because what'll happen is one day, all of a sudden, those cards will be full and you won't be able to get another card because you're not able to pay the payments on the cards you have. And then all of a sudden, the minute you start missing a payment, you're going to watch your interest rate. Suddenly, you're going to realize there was some small print in that agreement that you agreed to get that card. You know, you can do what you want to. I'm just telling you, the more you can stay away from credit cards, and, you know, one good investment is your house. You know, if you got to take out a loan, you know, do not buy, if you can pay cash for it, get you a new car. But if you can't pay cash for a new car, get you a car you can afford. You get that new smell for about a week in a new car. After that, when you drive off the lot, it's worth about half what you paid for it. You know, I mean, they do not appreciate, they depreciate. A house has been known to appreciate over time, you know, or that's the way it used to work. I don't know what's happening in the world these days, but anyway, I was going to read you a little scripture here to get this thing going. You know, I mean, God wants you to be happy, but you got to do your part. You got to use your common sense, you know, and the Bible is there to teach you some common sense if you just read it. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." Okay, it doesn't say don't go in debt. It just tells you you're going to be ruled over, and you're going to be a servant to whoever you borrowed that money from. Okay? Proverbs 22:26 and 27. "Do not be one of those who shakes hands in a pledge, one of those who is surety for debts." What that means is don't do stuff that you have to sign on the dotted line. These days we do contracts, you know. I guess back in the old days they might have shook hands or whatever. But these days it's more than shaking hands. When you sign the dotted line, they've got you. You know, you're either going to declare bankruptcy or they're going to take you to court and you're going to pay, one or the other, you know. If you have nothing with which to pay, why should he take away your bed from under you? What that means is you go signing those contracts. Once you have no way to pay, the reason, he says, why should he take your bed from you? The reason for that is because you signed on the dotted line. So, okay, the wicked borrows and does not repay, but the righteous shows mercy and gives. The thing about debt, you become enslaved to it. It's hard to be happy whenever when the man is knocking on your door. All of a sudden you can't pay your bills. Now it gets harder to eat, harder to buy your groceries and stuff. But here's the thing. If you're already past all of that and you've got 3 or 4 credit cards that are full and your house is more than that's another thing. Be careful how much house you buy. Buy as much as you can comfortably buy, but don't overextend yourself. You may have to get in a starter house, but what you're doing is you're building equity in a house. You can always, once your station in life improves a little bit, or you get a better job or whatever, you can, moving is not sometimes it's pleasant. You might be moving to a much better house or whatever. So moving's not so bad. Work your way up the ladder. Don't try to start at the top of the ladder. That seldom works out real well. Some people toss the dice and they win, but most people don't. So you have to be careful with all of that. Just you use your head when you're making these decisions, but particularly with a car, unless you can pay cash for a new car, don't buy a new car. If you got, the other day I was talking to somebody and they were talking about when I got my first car, I paid for it in 2 years. Now it was a 4-year-old Volkswagen, but I had it paid off in 2 years. Now, the dumbest thing I ever did is I went from there thinking I had become a star, and I didn't even have no hit records or anything, but I'm playing in a band and we were working pretty regular. And I bought this Cadillac. Man, trying to meet the payments on that thing every week. And somebody bumped me in the side. That dent stayed in that car forever because I couldn't afford to get it fixed. If you can't pay cash for a car like that, you can't afford to drive it. But anyway, I should have learned a lesson there. But at any rate, from there on, I backed off and bought cars that I could carry my equipment in, and they made a little more sense. They were a little bit more practical and stuff like that. But anyway, what I'm saying is stay within your means. Pay attention to how much you make. Work yourself out of budget. Don't go into debt unnecessarily. Never, like I said a minute ago, never do stuff like go on a vacation. Don't go to a concert and put it on a credit card. It's funny, when you lay that plastic down there, it's not as meaningful as if you're putting green money down there. It doesn't register how much you're spending, and they know that. That's why they make it so easy for you to get one to start off with. Now, once you ruin your credit, you can't get one, you can't buy a credit card after that. These people know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. So all I'm saying is try to use some common sense. And if you find yourself in debt, okay, now, here's what you have to do. You have to really then weigh all of your decisions, cut back. You don't need a new TV. You're not going, don't get a new computer. Do not get another car, Don't go out and eat so much, if at all. And what you want to do, well, I will refer you to a guy named Dave Ramsey. He has a good plan for starting to work your way back out of debt. Take your smallest credit card. Don't worry about what the interest rates are. You'd think, I'm going to pay off the one. No, you want to pay off the card that has the lowest balance on it. Why? Because you will pay it off quicker because you owe less on it. Now you've got one less payment to make. Okay, do the same thing again. Now, here's what you have to do. Instead of looking like, it's me, I don't know if I can make this. Start looking at each payment as a victory. And if you're in debt, you'll have a lot of victories before you get out, But that's why I want to talk to young people. Don't ever get in debt, But once you finally get to the point where, you'd like to get to the point where your house is paid off, but if you get it to the point where you're driving a car that you're not making payments on, and your house is something reasonable that's nice enough to live in, but something you can afford, then you'll start eating a little bit better. You'll have a little bit of money left over, and then if you can out of pocket it and you want to go to a concert, go to a concert. But just don't put this stuff on credit cards. And be careful about school. If you have to take a loan to go to school, take the least amount you can possibly live on. Get you a part-time job. Pay for most of it as you go. Because I can just tell you this, I don't know what, well, my early days in the music business was really, it was kind of thin. So I can't even imagine what it would have been like if I'd had a student loan in addition to whatever else. I wouldn't have been able to pay it. So, anyway, if you go to school, and I advise you to go to school. I mean, the more you learn, the more you earn. And be careful with that too, because it's not always about how much money you can earn. You want to be happy with what you do, and that might entail not living such a high lifestyle, but doing what you like to do, and you don't have to worry about how much money you're making so much. I mean, you got to make enough. Here again, a lot of this stuff I'm saying, you got to use some common sense in all of this. But you're better off to have a job that you like, that doesn't pay quite so much, if you can learn to live within those means. If you're always trying to climb the ladder and you're always after the money, and you're trying to live beyond your means, you're never going to be content. That is just not a happy way to live, I cannot tell you how many 12, 15-hour days I have worked doing music. These last few years doing the Friday night show and this show, there's a lot of time goes into that. You have no idea how many hours were spent making the videos that we use for these shows. But it wasn't work to me. I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. You know what? That is my going to the lake on Friday. I get to make a living doing what I love that much, So that's my advice to you. Get a job that you enjoy, that you like to do. Live within your means. Stay away from credit cards at all costs. I mean, just try to never get a credit card. Debit card, that's different. That means you got the money in the bank, or the debit card's no good. If you can afford to have whatever fund you can afford to pay for right now, don't put it off, because what'll happen is your cards will get full and the fun will run out, because now you don't have the money to have fun anymore. All you got to do is pay those bills. I would hate to think I had to get up every morning trudging to a 9-to-5 that I did not like, and worrying about if I was going to be able to make the payments at the end of the month. So stay out of debt. Like I said, the Bible does not say it's a sin, but it can sure put you in not a very good frame of mind if you're just weighed down with debt before you realize it. And they make it so easy for you to get into debt, and it's not nearly as easy to get out. Okay. If you find yourself having gotten there and you need to start digging your way out, maybe you can get Jesus to hold your hand.
As I travel through this pilgrim land, there is a friend who walks with me, leads me safely through the sinking sand. It is the Christ of Calvary. This would be my prayer, dear Lord, each day, to help me do the best I can. For I need thy light to guide me day and night. Blessed Jesus, hold my hand. Jesus, hold my hand. I need thee every hour. Through this pilgrim land, protect me by thy power. Hear my feeble plea. Oh Lord, look down on me. When I kneel in prayer, I hope to meet you there. Blessed Jesus, hold my travel in the light divine, that I may see the blessed way. Keep me that I may be wholly thine, and sing redemption songs someday. I will be a soldier brave and true, and ever firmly take a stand, as I onward go and daily meet the foe. Blessed Jesus, hold my hand. Jesus, hold my hand. I need thee every hour. Through this pilgrim land, protect me by thy power. Hear my feeble plea. Oh Lord, look down on me. When I kneel in prayer, I hope to meet you there. Blessed Jesus, hold my hand. The setting of the sun, lead me safely to a land of rest, if I a crown of life have won. I have put my faith in thee, dear Lord, that I may reach the golden strand. There's no other friend on whom I can depend. Blessed Jesus, hold my hand. Jesus, hold my hand. I need thee every hour. Through this pilgrim land, protect me by thy power. Hear my feeble plea. Oh Lord, look down on me. When I kneel in prayer, I hope to meet you there. Blessed Jesus, hold my hand. When I kneel in prayer, I hope to meet you there. Blessed Savior, hold my hand.
Well, I hope it made a little sense to you today. Just do your best to not go into debt in the first place. And then you won't have to worry about having to get out of it. But if you're already in debt, use some common sense. Cut back on everything. Don't go to concerts for a while. Don't have fun for a while. Eat rice and beans. You know, rice and beans not that bad, really, if you fix them right. So I've been there and done that. And that's just my advice, particularly to you young folks. Don't get in debt. And for us older folks, sometimes we have to figure out a way to wriggle out of it. But what you'll start to find, man, when you pay off that first card and you can tear that thing up or have a card burning service, that's a victory, and you're going to enjoy that. You know, so you can make a game out of getting out of debt. You know, you can enjoy burning that next card about as much as you do going to a concert if you get your mind set the right way. But anyway, thank you for being with us today, and be kind to each other. I love you. I'll see you on the next program.